We talk a lot about mental health as something personal, but what if the way that we think, communicate, and show up emotionally is directly impacting team performance, leadership, and workplace culture? And what if the biggest issues in organizations today aren't operational, but human? Today, I am joined by Halema Yates, and we are going to be talking all about this important topic. Halema is located here in the Denver area as well. So I'm really excited for today's conversation. Halema, thank you so much for joining me on Behind the Practice today.
Katie, thank you so much for having me here. I feel honored and I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Behind the practice.
Well, Halema, your work is rooted in lived experience. How did that evolve into building Lovemark, your practice?
I just been through a lot in life, just like a lot of people, and I just didn't have the proper tools to know how to navigate a lot of the challenges that I faced. I didn't know how to handle certain experiences that I had or certain messages that were teaching me that I wasn't good enough or not capable. And it just took a lot of time and effort and a lot of self-reflection and research in order for me to just understand who I am without the expectations others have of me and just building that self-trust and like, just being aligned with who I am instead of wanting to make sure that I get the approval of others or make sure that I'm perfect, because then if I'm perfect, then that'll mean that I'm doing everything right. There's no such thing as perfection. So it's just a lot of just, like I said, time and effort, just trying to figure things out in life. And because of all that I've been through, I use all of that to guide others in order to hopefully save them some time and money to not make the same mistakes as I did, or just know what they're capable of and what they're worth.
At what point did you realize this isn't just a personal healing? This is something that impacts how people show up in their teams and organizations.
Oh man, I just, in the beginning, yes, it was all about my personal growth, that self transformation. And then I started understanding how that applied to what I was doing in my work life.
Mm.
Did I feel like I was capable to apply for a higher position or to let the boss know, hey, I feel like I deserve to get paid as much as other people? Like, it was so much of just trying to understand, like, hey, you matter. Like, you're here, you're just as important as everybody else. And how can you get to a place where you realize, like, share your voice and let them see your talents and your skills and be true to who you are and see where that takes you and just take that leap. And I just decided, I've had so many different jobs or like businesses that I've started. And that I've learned so much from every single one of them. And I just use everything that I've learned and I use that with other people whenever I meet people who think that they're not capable, they're not good enough, they're not smart enough, anything that's holding them back from like starting that job or going after that promotion. I just use all those tools to have them be like, I get it, I've been there, I understand. And I just share tools to help them realize like what they're capable and what they can do.
It's amazing how we can be our own biggest obstacle when it comes to what we can really do with our career or what we can do personally or professionally. I mean, I know that for me, I say I've had my dream job 3 times now. I've been a post-game reporter for the Rockies and the Broncos. I was able to be a marketing director at, a TV station, and I get to go to baseball games on my lunch break. But everything I've done has helped lead me into what I feel I was meant to do. And I think that sometimes when we're our own biggest obstacle, it can be hard for us to really take that as, hey, this is an accomplishment that I learned from and that I grew from. You talk a lot about self-worth and perception shaping how we are interacting with others. Let's talk about how we can break that down and really use that to amplify where we are meant to go as professionals.
Yeah, the first lesson that I will start off with my clients is having them be aware of their perceptions, understanding how perceptions can be developed and how that then conjures up emotions and like their actions, their behaviors, or actions reflect our beliefs. So I have this lesson I call the Santa Claus effect. And what that is we talk about how do people believe that Santa Claus existed? I mean, so many people around the world believe in Santa Claus growing up. And we believed in Santa Claus because people we trusted and loved told us that Santa Claus existed. We were able to see cartoons. We were able to meet Santa Claus. We were able to write letters to Santa Claus. So there are so many elements out there teaching us that Santa Claus existed. And that brought us this joy and excitement. And then it created our behaviors of, well, let's leave out cookies for Santa and let's make sure we're kind and nice because we want to be on the nice list. So I go over that to have people understand how what you believe then influences your actions. And when you can understand that, then you can realize, well, what is it that you learned growing up? What did you experience that taught you to feel this way about yourself or to have this worldview? And then you can understand, okay, this is some devaluing messaging that I may need to not accept as my truth, or these are some experiences that I've had that I need to no longer um, believe that that dictates my worth. And so when you apply that to the workplace, think about how many times you might be able to be in a meeting and you have some valuable information to share, but then you just hold it back because you think no one wants to hear it. And
Mm.
where did that come from? Why do you think no one wants to hear your voice? And so if you grew up where people told you, oh, just be quiet, no one cares what you have to say, or you were always interrupted, or just certain things that people did that you internalized that made you believe that your voice didn't matter. So then you carry that with you. And then so you're at meetings or you're in group conversations or whatever happens and you just don't share your voice and you can have something so valuable to share that can make a huge difference. So there's just those little things of understanding why you feel the way that you do, what's
Mm.
holding you back from either, going further on a project or doing more than what's expected or not even trying to meet expectations but knowing who you are. So it's just understanding how you feel about yourself and how is that applying to your everyday life and your workspace.
So, how does someone's internal state actually impact their communication and relationships in a workplace?
Yes. So I'll just stick on the you don't believe your voice matters. So like if you don't think that your voice has a purpose, then when you're interacting with other people, are you giving your true self? Or are you only saying the words that you think other people want to hear? Or are you only representing yourself in a way that you think other people are expecting you to be? So when you get to a place where you are trusting who you are and trusting your voice, then you get to be true to who you are. And then people get to build that relationship with the true you instead of the person you're portraying that you think is wanted or expected to be.
Do you find that this happens more in men or women or certain cultures?
Yes, of course, it can happen across all genders, all ethnicities and races and things like that. But depending on how you grew up, yeah, it's going to definitely determine how much confidence you're going to have in yourself. There's this other thing that I do with my clients where I show them it's an image of three men and one looks taller than the other. And it's because of the way that it's designed. And so if you grow up believing that the tallest shines the brightest, is the smartest, is most valued, is everyone loves and adores that person, and the smallest one, the tiniest person, you have no worth, you have no value. Like if you grow up that way, then you're going to think that you aren't deserving of any opportunities. You aren't deserving of getting that promotion or getting a raise. But then the person who grew up believing that they were everything, they're like, yeah, I deserve it. I'm entitled to this.
Mm.
So yeah, depending on how you grew up, and sometimes that does depend on, like, in some cultures, like, sometimes women, like, "Oh, this is what you're supposed to be as a woman," or sometimes the way people are viewed because of their race. All of that can definitely be internalized and then portrayed and projected out.
It's incredible to me how so much of what we learn and as we're growing up shapes how we are as adults. On for what you do, you work with a lot of organizations on things like leadership and communication and culture. Where are you seeing a lot of breakdowns right now from some of these corporations and with their leadership as about how they're treating their employees?
Yeah, so bias, like that's a huge thing. And sometimes people think bias means like only has to do with a race. No, bias could be because, oh, I'm similar to this person. So, or I have an affinity towards this person. So I'm going to treat them better. And you might not even know that that's what you're doing. So
Mm.
bias could be like gender, it could be age, it could be affinity, it could be um, It could even be weight. I mean, it could be so many things. So, depending on who you like the most, if you like the halo effect, if you've heard of that before, it's like this person has this um, metaphorical halo over their head, and you just see them as an angel because something that they did or something about them makes you think that they're a great person. So now everything they do, let's say, you're okay with it. And like maybe they do something bad and you're just like you don't even notice it because they have the halo effect. You think that person's an angel. And then when someone has the horn effect, you think that person's evil. You think that person is just like anything they do and say is bad. So depending on how you feel about a person is going to determine how you treat them. So are you going to be providing some of your employees all the resources that they need in order to succeed? Or are you only going to give that to certain individuals? Are you going to give them all the information, all the details, or the projects or promotions? Like, who do you give that to? And yeah, bias definitely has a lot to do with how employees are treated. And some people feel like they're undervalued, they're not seen, they're not heard, and it decreases morale. And it also then has people end up leaving.
Yeah. And I think that too, is a strong breakdown in communication and trust because other people might within the organization might be like, oh, well, so and so can do no wrong, or I didn't even get told to do this, but I have the horn effect. So I, it's my fault that I didn't do it. Why do you think that so many teams are struggling with issues like communication and trust?
This is what I noticed, and that's how I start off to have people understand that this isn't about trying to fix you or tell you that you're wrong. It's about understanding why you perceive yourself and others the way you do to begin with, and how that then influences how you're treating yourself and how you're treating others. So it's coming from a place of understanding instead of judgment. And
Mm.
then we can get to realizing, okay, so if there's an issue here in this area, why does that exist? Where is that coming from? Once again, not to blame, but to understand it. And so then if people are willing to open themselves up to understanding that this doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, it just means that there's a reason for why you have these views that you do, believe the things that you do, and how that then is impacting the team. And if you allow yourself to be open to that, then it can make a huge difference. But if you're resistant to it and you think that, well, you're just trying to change my mind and tell me I'm wrong. No, there's gonna be like it's gonna be hard. So it's having that understanding. This isn't about telling you wrong. It's not about right or wrong. It's about what's harmful and what's helpful, and that's what we focus on.
So walk me through what it's like when you come into an organization. What are you actually helping them shift?
It depends on what they need. I'm always going to ask an organization what is it that they're looking for first. I don't ever want to come in and say, well, this is what you need to do and this is how it is, and then come and lecture. I need to understand what's really going on with the organization. Where are they seeing some concern? What are they noticing is happening with some of their employees? It depends on what the organization wants. So sometimes we can do a survey to see what's going on and have employees be able to be real with how they're
Mm.
feeling because it's going to be anonymous, and then we can go from there. And it's just a way for us to come in and be like, okay, this is where we're seeing are the areas of concern. So this is what we'll work on. And as we're talking and going through the workshops, because it's always interactive, then we can see what else is happening. And then we can see, okay, so we need to pinpoint this as well. Just getting to the root of the issue and making sure that that is what we do because that's the only way to solve anything. We don't want to do surface level stuff. We don't want to just come in and say, oh, let's just all get along. Let's do some team building and we'll be okay. No, we need to understand why we're not getting along and what we can actually do to make sure that we can make a shift and that it's going to be sustainable.
So what changes have you seen in some of these teams after they've implemented your work?
I've heard some people say to me that their team wasn't getting along in the beginning until I came in. They didn't know how to communicate with one another. And after we did a lot of different exercises and understanding their perceptions and how to communicate effectively with people, like be mindful of your words, be mindful if there's any bias behind it, be mindful if you've got any stereotypes that you're thinking of. When you have that awareness, it allows you to realize, okay, this is what I'm saying, this is what I'm doing, this is how it's impacting others, and okay, this is where I need to make that shift to make sure I'm being respectful. So a lot of companies, our employees, or even the manager, the bosses have come in, they're like, we are now able to communicate with one another. We're now able to
Mm.
understand each other, and we weren't able to do that before.
So you're helping teams and organizations be better leaders and help create more of a team culture. Why do you think that I mean, like, why do you think this is so important now than it was like 50 years ago? Stuff like this didn't happen 50 years ago. There was nobody coming in and helping people make sure that there were, they were being good leaders or that there were, like team communication, conferences and conversations happening. Why do you think this is really happening and it's so important now as opposed to like what we saw when our parents were growing up?
Back then, a lot of people were like, "Well, this is the way it's always been." And so some people just accepted that. And then you got the people who were the rebels were like, "I'm not gonna accept this," and then those people were just like looked at, "Oh, what's wrong with them? They're not going with the flow. They're not accepting the status quo." And so it's not that people weren't wanting it or needing it. It was just at a time back then where it wasn't really accepted or no one wanted to face it or, you know, be a part of that or involved in any way. And then so now I feel like people are a place where they're becoming more aware of how we impact each
Mm,
other. And because of that awareness, they're like, okay, so what can we do about it? And
yeah.
honestly, we can tell that some people still don't want to do it. Like DEI, they're trying to do away with DEI, and they have in a lot of places, not understanding that DEI is not, I think some people have this perception of DEI as only being like, we're going to tell you that you're wrong and you treat women bad and you treat people of color bad. Like, that's not what it is. It's about having people understand that we're one human being to another, and this is how we can treat each other in a humane way. So that's all it's about. Like, let's be human. Let's be treating people with respect and fairness and create a psychologically and physically safe environment.
What do you think really gets in the way of us truly seeing and valuing one another, especially in moments of conflict?
That once again has to be with open-minded. I sometimes our ego can get in the way, and we can feel like if anyone comes at us and says, "Okay, what we're saying can be minimizing that person's experience or invalidating their emotions," and if anyone can come at us in that way, if we're not open and receptive to that, we could feel like, "Oh, you're trying to tell me that I'm bad. You're trying to tell me that I'm
Mm,
wrong," and so your ego is going to want to defend that, and it's going to want to fight against it. So once again, if you can be open and receptive to realizing this isn't saying you're a bad person. This is saying it's understandable for why you may be thinking and feeling the way you do because it comes from a place. Everything we
yeah.
think, everything we're feeling, it comes from somewhere. So it's understanding what developed it. And then now, like, okay, how can we work through this? And then I don't ever tell people unlearn what you learned because you've already learned it. It's now been about, it's out there. So now it's about unaccepting anything that has taught you to diminish your value or another person's value.
How often do you think it comes to somebody just feeling like they're not seen or understood? Because that's one of the biggest things that what I'm hearing you say is that a lot of times the way that we're brought up to how we interact in the workplace, a lot of it can just come back to people not feeling seen.
Yeah, it's really hard when you don't feel seen. I absolutely know what that feels like. And it really is something that takes time because I wish I could say all you have to do is look at yourself in the mirror and say, I'm amazing, I'm great. And then boom, you're a superhero. That just doesn't work like that. You've had years of conditioning teaching you otherwise. And so that's why I feel like affirmations are important. You want to tell yourself great things about yourself. You want to hear your inner advocate. At the same time, you need to know that it's true instead of trying to convince yourself it's true. It's you reminding yourself of who you were before the world taught you otherwise. So it's important to have these wonderful, amazing thoughts about ourselves and then apply the action to it. So if
Mm,
you want to make a difference in your career and say you want to, well, since we're talking about the workplace, so let's say you're in a certain position and you know in your heart that you can do more and you want to talk to the manager about the hiring manager, whoever it is that makes the decision, then it's looking inward and understanding, like, you are capable. You know
mm.
what you're doing. You know what you're worth. You have evidence to prove it if you need that in order to be able to move forward, and just you gotta embody it. You gotta realize, "Okay, this is what I'm capable of. This is what I know I can do. Let me give myself a chance." And that's all you gotta do is the best that you can. And so go to that person who makes a decision and say, "You know what? I think that I would be a great fit for this," or I would like to get paid more," or whatever it is that you're wanting that you're holding yourself back from, sharing, and see what happens. And
Uh-huh.
if they here's the thing, they could either realize, yes, we do value you and we do realize what you can do. We are able to make sure we can provide that position or give you that position or whatever it is,
Yeah.
great. And if they don't, that still doesn't mean that you are not valuable. That still doesn't mean that you're not the right fit or there's something wrong with you. Maybe there is something with that organization where they can't afford to have that position right now or whatever it is. So, still, no matter what, don't look at it as I've been rejected and this means I'm a reject. Be aware of how you are interpreting who you are because of the actions or experiences that you're having. So yeah, just know that like you just gotta take baby steps. Just take one
Mhm.
step at a time. You don't have to, do everything all at once. Just take it one step at a time.
Well, and talk to us a little bit about Lovemark because that is your business, your brand, and this is it's very different, I feel, from what a lot of other people in your space are doing. You know, you offer keynotes and workshops and retreats. Talk to us a little bit about Lovemark.
Yeah, well, I started Lovemark in 17. 2017. I've been doing this work for like 20, 25 years. So I've been a mindset coach, transformation coach. I've been doing this work for many years. I started my company in 2017 because I wanted to do this as my career. I was always doing this work on the side. I was always doing all these different jobs that brought me joy or was making a positive difference in the world. But it was still like, I wasn't like, what can I do? What do I really want to do? And so I sat down and I was just thinking, what really brings me joy? What do I really want to do with my life? I'm learning a lot from all these different jobs. I'm learning a lot from everyone around me and everything, but what do I really want? So I started Love Mark because I noticed that I have been through so much in my life that's hurt me, and I noticed the same was happening for other people. And because I was having such a hard time in that transformation of like knowing my worth and really like going after it, I had to realize what's going to be realistic for me. And
Mm,
I had to understand that life is messy. And even though you're understanding who you are, and you're making the changes, there's still so much that can happen. There's still challenges you face. There's still adversity, and it's how to manage it and navigate it without thinking, "Well, this is the end of the world. I'm no good. I'm not good enough. What am I doing? What's the point?" Like, it's understanding like how to still get through those hard moments. So I created Love Mark in order to provide realistic, effective tools that have you realize that you're a human being, life can be hard, and this is what these are some methods we can do to work through it. And once again, it's not all about me lecturing and saying this is what works and this is what you got to do. It's understanding that person and understanding what works for them. So I'm always going to work with people to understand who they are, to see, okay, what are the tools that they need in order to get them where they need to go. So it's all about guidance and exploration than it is more about me like pinpointing this is the way it is, this is what you do. It's
yeah.
understanding them and working with them.
So if someone's listening right now and they're feeling disconnected from themselves or from the people that are around them, what's one shift in perspective that could change everything for them?
I can share with what I've noticed, not even just within myself, but with other clients that I've had who have felt that same way where they just feel disconnected from everybody and they could feel like they don't belong and they're not being seen or heard. And it's understanding that why do you feel that way? Where is that coming from? And so there's a couple things too, is who is around you? Are these
Mm,
people who are healthy for you? That's another thing to think of. Like just because you've been around these people your whole life or just because they're your family, that doesn't mean they have your best interests at heart. So first understand who are you around and are they uplifting you or depleting you? So if there are people who actually do uplift you and you are still feeling that way, then it's experiences that you've had that have taught you how to feel this way. And it's working through that emotional healing, not just the mental healing of it all. It's also your body remembers the things that you've been through in your life, your emotions remember it. So that's why self care is so important. Like, yes, you want to work on the logical side of things. Why I feel this way? Where did it come from? I don't accept that as my truth. But the self care is taking care of your body, taking care of making sure that you feel good and doing things that are good for you. And as you're feeling good about yourself, then that's going to just raise up your emotions. It's going to have you feel better. And then it's going to have you have a clear picture of what's really going on. So then you'll start to see, oh, these people do care about me. I'm
Mm.
thinking that they don't because I'm so used to people not, or I'm so used to like whatever I've been through and I'm not seeing it. So is it that you're not seeing that they hear you and love you and care about you? Or is it that they truly don't? And those are people that you may need to minimize your time around or not spend time with them at all. So when you start working on yourself, you build that self-confidence and realize these people, they really do care about me.
I love that. Well, Hamala, this has been a wonderful conversation. We've gone a little long. It's been so good. If people want to connect with you, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, you have a book. Tell us where they can get your book and connect more with you.
To make it real simple, they could just go to lovemark.com, which is LUVMRK, and you can email me from there. You can get my book from there. Look into the programs that I have to offer. Like everything's there.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, be sure to connect with Hamala. And I think that too, whether you're in the work, focused in on your own self journey and focusing in on, hey, I feel like I got a lot of negative self talk going on. Or if you're in a leadership position and the workplace it doesn't feel right. Love Market's there to help. They can help you with either your own self talk or helping your team communicate better through retreats, the book, all the things. So, Hamala, thank you so much for joining me on Behind the Practice today. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Behind the Practice is produced by Next Step Social and Podcasting and hosted by Katie Brinkley and Sean Quintero. A special thank you to our guest today and everyone who made this episode possible. For more information or to be on the show, visit nextstepsocial.com.